hit on real quick, and that's somewhat of breaking news, I guess you could say, as a player we've talked about a lot, Jacob. Mr. Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. It's official, reportedly scheduled a top 30 visit with the Green Bay Packers. So Trey Amos is on that short list of players that the Packers at least want to take a look at. Again, it doesn't mean they're going to draft him, but they definitely want to get a better look at him. So we put a little article together on him, kind of give you his origin story. The Green Bay Packers reportedly scheduled a top 30 visit with Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos, per team sources. Easton Butler, again, sharing the information with us, eyeing him as a high upside prospect in the 2025 NFL Draft. Ranked number 45 on the PTA Big Board, Amos brings a chiseled 6 foot, 195-pound frame with 31 and a quarter inch arms, offering the Packers a blend speed, physicality, and ball skills to anchor their secondary. Here, look at it, like a grown-ass man in high school, didn't he? Look at this boy right here. Yeah. So, scouting report coming out of high school: a 3-star recruit from Catholic Memorial High School in New Iberia, Louisiana. In the 2020 class, Trey Amos emerged as a promising defensive back with a 90.12 grade from On3 at 6'1", 175. We know the real measurement was like 6.5 is essentially what it came down to. He used smooth hips, explosive bursts, and a flair for disrupting passes, complemented by his basketball athleticism as a high-flying guard. His senior tape revealed tenacious man coverage skills and a knack for jumping routes, earning him all-district honors, ranked number 22 among Louisiana prospects by On3. Amos picked Louisiana Lafayette over offers from Arkansas, Baylor, and Mississippi State, viewed as a raw talent with NFL upside. So just let me give you this college background, then we'll go to the PFF grades real quick. Amos's 5-year journey across Louisiana Lafayette from 2020 to 2022, Alabama in 23, then Ole Miss in 24, showcases steady growth and impact. In 2020, he played in 11 games at Louisiana Lafayette, recording 10 tackles and 1 interception. In 2021, he appeared in 14 games, tallying 14 tackles, 5 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble. In 2022, he played in 11 games, posting 36 tackles, 8 pass breakups. After transferring to Alabama in 2023, he played in 13 games, logging 12 tackles and 5 pass breakups. At Ole Miss in 2024, he started in all 13 games, earning all first-team SEC honors with career highs of 55 tackles, 3 interceptions, 13 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble. So his career totals came to 62 games, 127 tackles, 4 interceptions, 31 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles. When you look at the PFF grades here, Jacob, 2020, 56.9, then he jumps to a 77.2, falls back to a 71.5. At first year at Bama there, 71.6, and then he transfers over to Ole Miss and just blows up, 85.6. Mostly an outside corner last year, pretty much predominantly an outside corner. Played in the box a little bit, but those are probably nasty splits, I imagine.
Yeah. The more I see Trey Amos, the more I just really do think that he would fit what we want in a cornerback, especially. Would you be okay with him at 23? I don't know if we've talked about that before.
My answer to that, Jacob, is always yes, because that means Goody had a grade high enough for him to be picked there. Now, if you were to say going off our board, that's the thing. Our board suggests, no, I wouldn't take him at 23, but he's going to be gone at 54. So you got to make that decision, right? And that's where you're talking about reaching for need, right?
Well, and that's, I was going to say, because I feel like it's specifically for this draft and this situation when cornerback is apparently a need, especially if Ja leaves, obviously. To me, he seems like jumping even a half round higher of where you would normally want to take him is justified because of the fact that every other cornerback high prospect, it seems like, besides him and Jahdae Barron, have an injury history, and not just a small one. You know what I mean? We got everybody you could think of: Ravel, freaking the guy from Notre Dame, guy from Michigan. You know, and it's like if we have to sacrifice maybe one quote unquote reach to really get maybe the most stand up kind of plug and play type corner that doesn't have injury issues, I'm okay with that this year specifically. So I would be all right if the card comes in and pick 23, we go with Trey Amos. I wouldn't be super pumped about it just because of the value and like you just talked about. But I really like the way he plays. I love the fact that he's not afraid to get dirty in the run game too, which obviously that could be a double-edged sword if it comes back to bite you in the butt like it did with Jair a little bit. But I think he's scrappy. I think the size is almost perfect. And it'd be cool to have another Amos, another famous Amos back there, you know?
Yeah, and what really grabs my attention too is how Bama went after him from UL Lafayette, and then of course Ole Miss swoops in and probably gave him even more money. With how college football is structured now. So those two big SEC programs, they seen something at Lafayette that they went, "Whoa, we got to have this dude." Right. So I think that's huge too to kind of take into consideration some of the coaches that were definitely wanting to have him in house. So we talked about college statistics already. Let's go to the RAS card. He scored an 8.37. By the way, that comment there, J. Cole, I would love to trade back into the first to get him. Listen, that, if you trade up to say 32, 31 to get back in the first round to grab him, if you were to do that, Jacob, that makes it a little more palatable seeing that he's number 45 on our board. But I think I would like it to pick 44, trade up. It'll never happen, right? Perfect like that. But that's kind of the perfect scenario, is like get him as close to that 45 spot as you can, so you're giving up less draft capital. Just wanted to hit that real quick. RAS card 8.37, so he came in at 6 foot. Like I said, a little over 6.5 inches. His weight was 195. We know the Packers, I think that right around 190, 193 is kind of the cutoff there. Doesn't mean they won't draft one, but that's what they like. Bench press, 13 reps. Vertical jump, 32.5 inches. That's where he struggled there with that vertical. Broad jump, however, shows plenty of explosion at 10.06. 8.50 was the score. His 40-yard dash, pretty sweet, man. 4.43. I mean, you're closing in on 4.3 speed there. 20-yard split, 2.57. 10-yard split, 1.53. Shuttle, 4.36 is where he struggled there, so he did not run the 3-cone. So what you got is a guy with really good burst between the broad jump and the 10-yard split. Seems to struggle a little bit with the agility, but he's definitely one of those outside corners as opposed to a slot corner. So he probably played a little slot at some stops, I'm sure, and it may be mentioned in here. But again, the detailed scouting report at the combine, Amos measuring at 6 foot 195, 31 and a quarter arms, 4.43 340, leaping 10'6", broad jump, standout marks for a corner. His 2024 Ole Miss tape highlights a press man specialist who leverages his length to reroute receivers with his speed to shadow downfield. That kind of checks out with the RAS there. Aligning with Green Bay's physical defensive approach. He's instinctive in zone with quick hands to snatch interceptions or swat passes, though he can occasionally over-pursue against quick boundary routes. His tape suggests fluid change of direction. So when the tape suggests that, it makes you feel a little bit better about the composite agility grade, obviously. Let's see. Fluid change of direction, projecting him as a premium talent built for outside corner duties. All right, injury and character concerns. Amos has proven durable, suiting up for 62 games over 5 seasons with no significant injuries reported. He played through minor bumps during his Louisiana Lafayette days, missing no games, and showed resilience in 2024 at Ole Miss, starting every game despite the SEC's physical toll. Off the field, Amos is a respected teammate, adaptable across 3 programs, coachable and driven, a multi-sport high school athlete, basketball, track. He brings a competitive edge with 0 off-field issues, earning high marks from coaches for his leadership and work ethic. And then, of course, when we look at where he's being mocked right now, here's the problem, right? When you look at how he lines up on our board and where he's being mocked, the most recent mock drafts as of April 11th, it looks like the 10th and the 11th, all those mocks here, 29th to Washington, 23rd to the Packers by NFL.com, 23rd to the Packers by the Chicago Tribune and Brad Biggs, 30 to the Buffalo Bills from Underdog Fantasy. He went 26th to the Rams, according to CBS, and then the 33rd team, Marcus Mosher, had him going number 30 to the Bills. It seems like many people now, Jacob, in the media are seeing him as a late first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I asked that question, if you thought that we'd get him at 23, I didn't expect even some of the mocks to be even close as this is. I mean, obviously with the 2 that get mocked to us, and then, I mean, I really have a trouble seeing him getting out of the first. Is the just because, like I said, of the injury concerns with the other ones. What was Omer said, Jake said cornerback is not deep this draft, so Goot having to find a couple good ones, at least one starter to go with Hobbs, Valentine, and Nixon. Do you see that sentiment where I think, we always talk about how we don't want to draft on need, and we're not going to we're just not going to paint ourselves into that corner. Do you think, though, that because of the fact the cornerback position is so limited at the top end, that Goody feels a little more pressure to maybe find a guy in the first or the second or the third? Because after that, I mean, we've looked at the mock drafts. We've done the test. We've done many examples. It falls off pretty darn quick. And unless you're very confident that you're going to find an absolute steal in the back end of that draft, I do feel like you got to feel a little more pressure, right, to do it early.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember who it was. They said that was the case. If you watch this show, you've heard us talk about it 1,000 times. Every time we do a mock draft, we go, boy, you don't take a corner early, you end up in no man's land. So that's something we've pointed out over and over and over all offseason. So what you end up with is when you do these mock draft scenarios within the building, you're trying to look at different scenarios of, okay, if this team goes this route early and then they go here and then they go there, how does that affect our board? What you find yourself when you create the horizontal board, and I taught myself out of doing a horizontal board this year because I can't put the whole thing on the screen. That makes it you guys won't really be able to appreciate how a horizontal board truly speaks to you. But when you look up at the horizontal board and you got these clusters and tiers, and you only see maybe 2 corners in this, and then at D tackle you'll have 6 players, at edge you'll have 7 players, at wide receiver you might have 4. What it tells the GM is, boy, if we don't go corner early, if one of those guys are on the board when we pick, then it's going to be a while before we can justify taking one. And that's where you end up in no man's land. You don't end up taking one. But again, the Jair situation comes into play. So, some people would look at it as a reach, right? That's why I was on Jahdae Barron. That's why I'm still on Savone Rebel. Savone Rebel, guys, that dude, to me, he checks all the boxes. And it sounds like he's healthy. No one's concerned with the injury. He's been in for a top 30 visit. We're going to do a write-up on our top 30 visits to the cornerback position. If he's sitting there at 23, to me, he makes more sense than Trey Amos. But if Savone Rebel is gone and Trey Amos is the next best corner on your board, that's where you find yourself in that situation where, crap, do I need to trade down? And make it more worth it here. All good in the chat says, how can I access the board? If you scan that QR code in the upper right, that'll send you to our Patreon page. For $3, it's, people can do more. There's other people that are donating, more like Solder signed up for a year and it did the $10 tier. There's no extra perks of the $10 tier. It's just if you want to support the show more. But for $3, what it'll get you is access to the board and everything on the site. So if you go to the chats, I actually posted a link on Twitter just now. In the chat section, once you're a member in there, you're going to see draft board link. And Emilio's been keeping that up to date. So you just click in there and it'll send you right to the spreadsheet and everything that we got in the draft board. That's how you access it. So thank you.
I will say that Ryan did have a segment on his podcast this morning where he highlighted Savon Ravel, and someone else did like a write-up about him and actually had like a cut with some footage and some stuff from him as a high school player, and kind of highlighted how he's had to deal with adversity throughout his career. However, it did highlight, in Ryan's eyes, it kind of took him off of the board for him because he said that the guy's been dealing with injuries all throughout high school, got to college, kind of had a iffy situation, ended up not transferring when he had the opportunity, had one good year, then tears the ACL. So now he's saying that he's a little bit more of a cautious, hazardous type of prospect for him, whereas before he was kind of, like you said, more intrigued by him, but now it feels like Ryan's backed off. Now I'm kind of like somewhere in between. Sorry, my dog's squeaking toys.
You're good.
I don't know what to think about Ravel because I love the size. I love that 1 year, but when I look back, it's like, yeah, he had 1 year really where he showed that he could do it, where it was at a smaller school again against whatever type of competition you want to, I just, the cornerback room scares the crap out of me this year, dude. It really does. Not our room. I'm saying the draft. Like, it just, other than Jahdae Barron and the guy we just talked about, I feel like I'm hesitant on almost every single one of them.
Mm-hmm. So if we look at the cornerback room here early, and let me just say this, like there's no right way of thinking about the draft. Everybody looks at it different. The way Ryan looks at it, probably way different than me. When I look at the draft, I put in as much information into our board as I can to say, okay, here's the groupings. Here's how these players, if you think PFF is all that, there's an element in there. If you think Dane Brugler's all that, there's an element in there. If you think Greg Cosell is all that, there's an element. RAS, Daniel Jeremiah. I love when people bash Daniel Jeremiah like he don't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, boys, this dude, was a college quarterback at Appy State, and he was an NFL scout. He's been in the room making decisions on NFL drafts, and some draft Nick, sitting in their mom's basement is going to pretend like Daniel Jeremiah doesn't know what he's talking about. That just blows my mind. The level of ego that takes is, it really is mind-boggling. But anyway, so why do I like Savone Revel? What am I basing it off of? Everything that we've got here on our board, right? When you look at Savone Revel, and he's a little bit lower on our board at the moment. We got him in the 26th spot, okay? The Packers thought enough of him to meet with him at the East-West Shrine Bowl, okay? He meets the athletic threshold. The Packers had him in-house for a top 30 visit, so obviously they're seeing something in him, right? PFF in 23 was 67th best at his position, so he had a solid year, really good year in 23. 2024, he jumps all the way to 31st. There's a red box because of the injury, of course. I'm not seeing any other red boxes. We may have overlooked him getting hurt in college before that. But they said he was already running over 20 miles an hour a month ago on the treadmill. So that's already starting to check out. If the Packers had him in-house and looked at that knee and said, nope, he's good to go, as strong as it's ever been, then that checks the box. PFF Big Board at the end of the college football season had him 30th in the league or in the country. The consensus Big Board had him all the way up to 24, higher than he is on our board at the end of the season. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 46. Kyle Krabs had him at 7. Dane Brugler had him at 32. And Greg Cosell said he's the best press man. He said this guy may be the best press corner in the entire draft this year, is what he said. So when I look at all that information and I go, would I take him at 23? The answer is hell yes, I would take him at 23. Now, if you told me we don't know about the injury, it may resurface or whatever, you got to be hesitant. Goody may have taken him off his board, Jake. They may have gotten a look at that knee and went, I don't like this, And some of the athletic testing they did in-house, maybe they did some stress tests on the ankles and whatever. That we'll never have information on that. But that's how I look at the draft as opposed to how others do. I'm not saying my way is right. It's just that's the filter I run everything through. I don't watch the tape and go, I know how to break down tape. Let me tell you, this guy's the real deal. I don't do that. I just don't. I'm not confident enough in my ability to identify a good football player to do that. But that's in terms of corners though. Will Johnson, right? He's in the 10 spot. Then it's Jahdae Barron. I would love to have Jahdae Barron. He's probably going to go top 10, top 15.
I was just going to say, I think he's going top 10 now.
Yeah. He's in the 16 spot. And then you got to jump down to the 26th spot for Savone Revel. And then you go on down to the next corner is, I'm pretty sure, Trey Amos. So you see the drop-off, right? The drop-off is pretty significant. Where did he go? Hold up a second. Let me search real quick here just to make sure we find him. So Trey Amos. Or Trey Amos, I'm sorry. Get those two mixed up. Two Treys on the same team. So he's in the 45 spot on our board. So that would be the next corner. So it drops off significantly, man. Again, it comes down to Savone Revel. If we were going strictly off our board, Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson will be the 3 corners I'd be willing to take at 23. Again, if they take Trey Amos at 23, that means they had just as high a grade on him as the others. Now, I want to mention this real quick. You got a comment? Go ahead and hit it real quick, Jake.
Oh, no, it's just Chuck saying that Ravel still scares me in the first round. Small school plus injury. Second round, I'd take a chance. I'd definitely feel more comfortable in the second, but I just don't see a situation where that guy lasts. Yeah. He's too good. People will take a chance on him. I don't.
Right. So now what we've got on our big board here, guys, these are the top 30 visits that we've had so far. And we're going to run through them real quick, and then we're going to talk about this spade over here that we've now added to the board. You notice everything has just been this process building up to the draft, right? James Pierce Jr. in the 12th spot, which, by the way, really excited about this. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Dave Hooker on the show. We're going to open the show with a 10, 15-minute interview of Dave Hooker. For those of you who don't know, Dave Hooker has covered the UT Volunteers down here forever. I just reached out to him on Twitter. He said, heck yeah, I'd love to come on the show. I have not coerced with him. I've not asked him, how do you feel about this player? You guys know we've been trying to get more and more information on James Pierce Jr. We're going to ask a guy who's right down here in volunteer country, right off the bat, James Pierce Jr. Is he a problem for a program or not? Packers had him in for a top 30 visit. Do you think he has character issues? He may say, yes, this dude's a basket case. He may say, nope, That's all overblown. I'm eager to have that conversation with him. We'll also try to hit on maybe 2 or 3 other Tennessee Volunteer prospects and get his take because he's done a podcast and experience watching the Vols very, very closely just down the road here from where I'm at. So anyway, James Pierce Jr. in the 12th spot. That's just a little promotion for tomorrow. Number 15, Shamar Stewart. Number 20, Emeka Egbuka. 21, Michael Williams. 24, Josh Simmons. 26, Savone Revel. Number 35, Tyleek Williams. 37, Matthew Golden. 39, TJ Sanders. 45, Trey Amos. 103, Jacob Bayer. 117, Isaiah Bond. 135, Anthony Belton. 239, Dalton Cooper. 292, John Williams, offensive tackle. Jason Marshall is in the 339 spot. Essa Pohl is in the 364 spot. And Micah Robinson is in the 440 spot. So when you see the gold names here, Jacob, the Packers last year, they love Senior Bowl guys, right? They absolutely love Senior Bowl guys. So what we did was we took Senior Bowl participants and top 30 visits and we lighted them up in the gold here, okay? So that says they're kind of primed for the picking. Now, the spades mean not only were they Senior Bowl guys in top 30 visits, but they also meet the athletic threshold for the Packers, okay? So when you look at it through that perspective there, you've now got 3 guys who are really, really primed for the picking for the Packers. Shamar Stewart at 15, TJ Sanders in the 39 spot, and now Trey Amos is another one in the 45 spot.
Shouldn't so John Williams has not met with them? Is that what that is? Well, he doesn't qualify.
He wasn't a Senior Bowl participant.
Oh, Senior Bowl. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's the other outlier.
He's close though. I mean, that's one to keep an eye on there too. I really like him.
Of the 11 draft picks last year, Jacob, 8 of them participated in the Senior Bowl. Wow. So they love their Senior Bowl guys. So again, that's just to kind of zero in that target a little bit closer. And here's some of the players. Now we just identified Trey Amos. Why do we like him? Right? He's in the 45 spot, outside corner. He was a team captain. The Packers met with him at the Senior Bowl. He meets the athletic threshold. He is a top 30 visit target, right? Greg Cosell, let's add a little extra caveat. Greg Cosell raved over him. 5-point bonus there. And his RAS is 8+, as you guys know. Goody has a history of taking RAS, guys with an RAS of 8 or higher there in the first round has been the most recent thing there. So you have the floor there. Anything you want to add to that information? I thought it was cool that we've got that now narrowed down to 5 players that meet that max criteria, and then 3 that are like, boy, these guys right here seem like real Packer guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, have you looked into the fact of whether or not you can put a little money maybe on a few of these prospects? Because, like you said, you get to a certain point of the draft, and you'd have to think that those odds are pretty good. And honestly, I mean, would you say 8 out of 11 that we did last year? 8
out of 11 were Senior Bowl participants last year. So
I'd be hard pressed to find that at least 1 or 2 of these in gold aren't Packers wearing the green and gold.
Now, last year we had the list narrowed down to 7, and what that list was Senior Bowl. I think it was Senior Bowl and top 30 visit was the criteria. So we took it one step further this year. So if anybody who's in the gold, what I would like to do is put a little action on them to be drafted, because the odds are so astronomical that you could put very little money and get a good little lick on it, So I would like to do that. I think that would be fun. Watching none of them hit this year, right? And that's okay. That's the price you pay. Again, you never bet a dime that you can't afford to lose, right? That's the way you go in there. So I just love how the board's coming together. I think it's really, really cool. And then you'll see like the little wrestling emoji. That just means they've got a wrestling background, like Essa Pohl's got a wrestling background. A couple different things like that we've added in as well. So, and we're going through doing the final sweep. I got through the top 50, double and triple checking the RAS scores because they fluctuated and changed. So we should have that finalized here in the next couple of days as well. So anything else you want to say or hit on here with the board before we move on to the next topic, Jake?
No, that's good, man.
All right, there you go. That's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2, where we're going to talk a little defensive tackle. Appreciate y'all. All right, welcome into hour 2. Let's keep this party rolling here, Jacob, as we're going to do a little – I thought this was kind of cool, same as we did with, I think, Edge before.